At the party, someone asked me, "What do you do if there are 5 leaders and only 4 chairs?" Without thinking, I blurted out, "If it's someone like Liam, he can just sit on my lap, right?" As soon as the words left my mouth, a deep voice came from behind me. "Really? Are you sure?" I froze, stunned. After having a hard time convincing my mom, I left my hometown and headed to New York City on my own to hit the ground running. I hadn't been in New York long when a class reunion came up. Most of my classmates were locals, so the gathering felt more like a welcome party for me. When my best friend Lila led me into the private room, nearly everyone was greeting me. I even ran into a few familiar faces I hadn't seen in ages. But there was one person I really wanted to see who hadn't shown up, the one who was always the center of attention back in college. I casually started counting the people in the room. "Is everyone here?" I asked. Lila glanced around the room. "Yes, almost everyone. The ones who aren't local didn't come." "Everyone local is here?" I pressed. Lila checked her phone and replied, "Not exactly, Liam didn't come." I nodded as though I didn't care, but inside, I couldn't help but wonder, why isn't he here? Lila had already dragged me to a seat. "He's a big shot now. Not sure if he'll have time today." As soon as the others heard Liam's name, the room buzzed with excitement. "Liam? He's the boss now." "Yeah, he's a big deal, always busy. I heard a bunch of girls around here have a crush on CEO." "You're crazy." Ha ha ha. I joined in with the others, talking about Liam, and surprisingly, I didn't feel as awkward as I thought. In fact, I even felt a little bolder. Liam was handsome back in school, and now he's still just as. Yeah, we've got half the room here as his fan club. After a few drinks, the conversation shifted back to me. When they found out I was looking for a job, one of my classmates in HR offered to give me a mock interview to help boost my confidence. Having had a little too much to drink, I eagerly agreed. "I'm great at this," I boasted. My classmate smiled slightly. "Don't worry, I'm a professional." What followed over the next 5 minutes was an endless barrage of bizarre interview questions. "If we hire you, what will you lose? How would you sell high heels to a mermaid? What color is your brain? What kind of questions are these?" The mock interview continued. "There are 5 leaders, but only 4 chairs. What do you do?" At this point, I had completely lost my filter. "If it's someone like Liam, he can just sit on my lap, right?" As soon as I said that, I could tell that the expression of my classmate across from me had changed. "What? The questions can be ridiculous, but my answers can't be?" Then, I heard a low, magnetic voice behind me. "Oh? Are you sure?" Holy crap. The moment I recognized the voice, I froze completely. Wasn't it supposed to be that Liam Mills wasn't coming? How did he suddenly show up again? The room fell silent, and the sound of footsteps behind me grew louder, sharper. I glanced at my classmates, who were all giving me curious, gossip-hungry looks, and the awkwardness hit me hard. Is there anything more embarrassing than being caught in the act of saying something inappropriate by the very person you're talking about? Will Liam think I'm a freak? He stopped behind me, and his voice dropped from above. "Bella?" I didn't dare turn to face him. "Haha, Liam's here. Welcome, welcome." He chuckled lightly. "Aren't you going to look at me? Is that how you welcome people?" I awkwardly twisted my neck. I think I have a stiff neck." Then I threw a desperate glance at Lila. Seeing how pitiful I looked, Lila quickly stepped in to help. "Mr. Mills, didn't you say you had a meeting and couldn't make it?" Liam turned sideways and casually pulled out a chair next to me, sitting down without a second thought. "Meeting? It can be postponed." I sat rigidly in my chair, feeling his gaze settle on me. "There are some people I just had to see." "Who does he want to see? A man or a woman?" I was screaming this question inside my head while trying not to let a single hint of it show on my face. If a random person walked in right now, they'd probably think I have some sort of language barrier. Haha. Liam kept staring at me, smiling. Not long ago, you wanted me to sit on your lap, and now you're so cold? The man is still as dark as ever. Who else would latch onto a joke like this and not let go? I trembled a little, my voice weak. It was just a joke. Lila, catching my signal, quickly explained, Mr. Mills, Bella has an interview coming up, so we were just doing a practice run. Interview? You can just ask me directly, Liam said. His eyes scanned me, and I couldn't help but feel a little nervous. I knew he was the boss, but hadn't he just said he wasn't coming? Now, here he was, awkward beyond belief. I quickly waved my hand. No, thank you, Mr. Mills. But Lila, ever bold, asked, Mr. Mills, do you have any advice for Bella? Liam's gaze lingered on me, his expression unreadable. Just keep doing what you've been doing. Lila was surprised. Really? Was it okay to say that earlier? Liam's long fingers tapped the table lightly, a smile dancing at the corner of his eyes. It's fine. At the time, I didn't really take his words seriously. 2 days later, I regretted it. I found myself sitting in the Mills Group conference room. Liam sat directly across from me. The interviewer, who had just given Liam his seat, was standing beside him, speaking to him. I actually got an interview at Liam's company? The worst part? I overheard them discussing the interview questions. As I remembered Liam's words from earlier, a sense of dread started to creep up on me. Sure enough. 1 minute later, I heard the dreaded question. The interviewer opened his mouth, asking, if 5 executives come in, but there are only 4 chairs, what would you do? Liam crossed his arms in front of him, his eyes fixed on me, clearly expecting something. I couldn't answer like I did before. Tentatively, I asked, could you ask a different question? Do they really have to put me in such an awkward spot? I could cry. The interviewer didn't say anything, but Liam shook his head first. No. I weakly responded, I think, maybe your company can just bring in an extra chair. Liam furrowed his brows. Clearly, he wasn't pleased with my answer. The interviewer, sensing the shift in Liam's mood, immediately turned to me with a serious expression. There are no extra chairs. This is part of the scenario. I looked at Liam. He was still staring at me. I knew exactly what he wanted me to say. After all, at the party, he had specifically told me, just keep doing what you've been doing. Wasn't that the line? If I say it, will they actually hire me? I like this company, and I really want to get in. If I say it, there's a good chance I'll get the job, but if I don't, I might have no chance at all. After a long internal struggle, I decided to blurt it out. If the executive in the middle is the one without a seat, why not just let them sit on my lap? And with that, I pointed at Liam, just in case they didn't understand which executive I meant. The second I said it, the room froze. The interviewer who had asked me the question was stunned. He trembled as he turned to Liam, apologizing, Mr. Mills, I'm so sorry. I think HR missed this during the resume screening. I could tell he was thinking, I didn't realize I'd be screening such a big fool. But Liam just smiled. Then, applause erupted throughout the room. Liam clapped his hands, nodding enthusiastically. Good. Very good. This is exactly the kind of employee we need. You're hired. The interviewer was speechless, glancing between me and Liam, his small eyes wide with disbelief. I'm famous. The entire company found out. A bold new employee had invited Liam, Mr. Mills, to sit on her lap during the interview. He even praised her and hired her on the spot. Everyone was buzzing, wondering what kind of person she was to make the usually stone-faced Mr. Mills lead the applause. I had hoped that since there were so many new hires, I could slip by unnoticed. But somehow, someone leaked my name early. When I showed up wearing my new badge and looking for my desk, I was greeted with a circle of stares. Is that her? The new one? Yeah, it's definitely her. How bold. She actually got Mr. Mills to sit on her lap. One woman even came up to me and said, Bella, were you the one who, did that during your interview? Did what? What the hell are you talking about? Liam, I hate you. How is it that the older you get, the meaner you become? But what I didn't expect was that, soon enough, Liam himself would face the backlash. I was already the star new hire, but he just couldn't seem to tone it down. As soon as I sat at my desk, my supervisor came over and told me to pack up. Bella, your desk isn't here. I immediately sensed something was wrong and quickly grabbed my things. What's going on? I was hired for this position. This job was something I'd sacrificed my dignity to get, please don't send me away. The supervisor gave me a slight smile. No, Mr. Mills thinks you're exceptional and has promoted you. I was promoted from a mere employee to a team leader, right before everyone's eyes. In the shocked silence of my colleagues, I became the fastest rising employee in the company. When I sat in the team leader's chair, I was still bewildered. Liam, was this your conscience finally kicking in? Did you feel bad about how tough you were on me during the interview? But after my supervisor settled me into my new spot, I started to notice something odd. My new desk, why was it right in front of Liam's office? Thank goodness for the blinds. As I sat there thinking, the blinds suddenly went up. Liam was standing by the glass, his gaze briefly drifting over to my area. I was about to mouth a thank you to him when the blinds quickly dropped again. Is this some sort of game with the curtains? Not long after, Liam came out of his office. In half an hour, everyone, a quick meeting. All right. Immediately on it. I was a little excited about my first meeting in the new company. But I didn't realize that beneath the calm exteriors of my colleagues, there was an undercurrent of restlessness. When did things start to go wrong? It was during the meeting. I, being the diligent worker I am, arrived early to the conference room. One by one, my colleagues trickled in and kept going in and out. I noticed them moving chairs around, but didn't think too much of it. Before long, the room was packed. Yes, packed. The seat belonging to the boss is empty, but there's no stool. I silently congratulated myself for picking a corner spot. At least when Liam starts scolding people, he won't be able to pick on me. When Liam entered, his expression was neutral. But when he noticed there was no chair for him, there was a hint of confusion. He furrowed his brow and asked, "Where should I sit?" When no one answered, it seemed like he just found it odd. Then someone invited him to sit, and that's when he started to look genuinely alarmed. Head of marketing sitting on the right side grinned widely and patted his thigh. Mr. Mills, why don't you sit on me? Head of procurement on the left wasn't having any of it. Mr. Mills, he's too skinny. You'll get a sore butt sitting on him. Come sit on me. Suddenly, the meeting room erupted like it had been doused in gasoline. Mr. Mills, sit here. I'll do a horse stance for you. He's too frail for you to sit on him, Mr. Mills, look over here. Mr. Mills, I'm soft, come sit on me. Mr. Mills. Liam was surrounded, his handsome face full of shock. I froze for a few seconds, then finally realized what was happening. Then, I collapsed into the corner, laughing so hard I couldn't breathe. Liam, in a panic, bolted out of the room, grabbed a chair, and brought it in himself. Although I had embarrassed myself during the interview, it seemed like I had somehow become a trendsetter. Liam had dug a huge hole for himself. Now, everyone in the company thought that if you just invited the boss to sit on your lap, you'd get promoted. And of course, Liam was too embarrassed to explain. After all, he had praised me and given me a promotion. When the meeting ended, everyone was unusually excited. It felt like everyone was basking in the joy of an upcoming promotion. But the truth is, after several days, no one else was promoted. Some colleagues were starting to feel disheartened. Maybe it's because Bella was the first one to bring it up. Next time, we'll have to be quicker. I bit my lip to hold back my laughter and nodded repeatedly. Though I had no idea what Liam's real reasons were for promoting me, I didn't care to ask. After all, it definitely wasn't because of any chairs. Who cares? Since my desk was so close to Liam's office, I had a natural geographical advantage. On top of that, his blinds were rarely drawn, so I couldn't help but peek at him. I didn't want to spy, but honestly, he was just too good-looking. There was a guy named Terry who started with me, and he was also quite good-looking, not to mention kind and warm-hearted. One day, while I was secretly glancing at Liam during a break, Terry came over with a coffee for me. When I heard him call my name, I quickly averted my gaze. "Bella, what are you daydreaming about?" I panicked, feeling like a thief caught in the act. "And nothing." Terry smiled gently and handed me the cup. "Here's your coffee." I thanked him and transferred the payment. After he left, I cautiously peeked toward Liam's office again, only to find his eyes locking with mine. My heart skipped a beat. I quickly looked away, pretending to be distracted. But was I imagining it? In that brief moment, it seemed like I saw a hint of displeasure on his face. Was he glaring at me? No, surely not. Later that afternoon, a delivery guy came in, holding 2 large boxes. "Your coffee," he announced. The office buzzed with whispers. Who ordered all this? I was surprised. Liam slowly strolled out, hands in his pockets. "I ordered it," he said calmly. "You've all been working hard, so I thought I'd treat you to some coffee." A round of applause followed. "Thank you, Mr. Mills." I looked down at the coffee cup I was still holding and stayed silent. 1 cup a day was enough for me. By the time everyone had gotten their coffee, there was still 1 cup left. "Who hasn't gotten theirs?" someone asked. Bella hasn't gotten hers," someone else called out. I waved my cup, saying, "I've got a cup, I don't need another one." It seemed like a pretty normal exchange. But then, Liam spoke up suddenly. "Bella, don't you like coffee?" I froze. I turned and saw him leaning against the doorframe, staring at me. I forced a smile and ran over to him. "I do. I love coffee." Later, during lunch break, I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, Terry's coffee was gone. I found it in the trash can. Well, maybe someone had accidentally knocked it over. No big deal. I don't know why, but Terry was the second person to get promoted after me. Although he was transferred to another department. To celebrate my promotion, I invited my best friend Lila to go shopping with me after work on Friday. Lila had been stressed with a few difficult clients, but as soon as she heard the word shopping, her eyes lit up. After an afternoon of walking, both of us had sore feet, so we finally settled into a restaurant for dinner. While we were waiting in line for a table, Lila suddenly asked, "So, Bella, what's it like working under Liam? How does it feel?" I thought for a moment before answering honestly, "It's pretty great. I get to see a handsome guy every day." Lila gave me a knowing look, then sighed and shook her head. "Liam, huh? He really is handsome. Back in school, I thought you two would end up together. Who knew that you both have such high standards and can't stand each other?" I froze when I heard her words. Can't stand each other? Actually, they didn't know. I've liked Liam for years. On the day of our university graduation, I had planned to confess to him. When our group of friends was taking photos, Liam was surrounded by a group of younger students asking for autographs and pictures. The campus beauty was there too. One of my friends teased, "This guy, he's always popular with the younger girls." Yeah, he always had been. I intentionally turned my back to the crowd, pretending not to look at Liam. Another friend glanced at the group of girls and asked, "Did that girl just confess to Liam?" Liam's best friend waved it off. "It wouldn't matter. Liam doesn't even like girls like that. He told me himself. He doesn't like any of them. Too bad for those girls. When they were rejected, they cried their eyes out." I lowered my gaze, listening to their chatter. "So, what kind of girl would Liam like?" I'm not as pretty as the campus beauty, nor do I come from a prominent family. If even girls like her are rejected, then what chance do I have? We probably couldn't even be friends. One of my friends suddenly glanced at me and, seeing my conflicted expression, smiled knowingly. Bella, don't tell me you like Liam too? When everyone turned to look at me, I panicked and denied it. I exaggerated. What? Me? Like Liam? No way. But apparently, Liam heard. As I turned around, he tapped my head with a smile. What are you talking about? A guy like me? I'm not short on admirers. After we finished taking photos, he threw the bouquet of roses he'd been holding into the trash. I felt a pang of sympathy for the delicate flowers. He shrugged. They were a gift. They're not important anymore. That night, it was dark, but Liam's eyes still shimmered, reflecting the stage lights. I thought to myself, his eyes had always been as bright as stars. After saying goodbye to Lila, I realized I had left my keys at the office. I had no choice but to head back. Luckily, there were still security guards around in the evening. When I reached the building, I discovered the office wasn't dark at all. Liam's office lights were still on. What a hard-working boss, still working late. I went to my desk to grab my keys and was about to run to the bathroom before heading home. I didn't bother greeting Liam, not wanting to disturb him while he worked. But when I was about to leave the bathroom, I found the door wouldn't open. The bathroom door wasn't just any ordinary lock. It had a high-tech locking system, which meant after several attempts of pulling and yanking, I finally confirmed I had locked myself in the bathroom. The door creaked with the noise, but no one in the office seemed to notice. For the first time, I felt genuinely frustrated by how fancy the bathroom door was. After trying a few more times, I decided to give up. Who could I ask for help now? It seemed like the only person I could call was Liam. Reluctantly, I pulled out my phone and dialed his number. The phone rang twice before he picked up. If I didn't know he was working late, I might have thought he was free. His deep voice came through the receiver, slightly raspy but even more charming. Is something wrong? I gritted my teeth and squeezed my eyes shut. Can you come to the office bathroom? He sounded confused. What happened? I pouted. I've locked myself in. There was a brief silence on the other end. He probably thinks I'm an idiot. Then I heard the sound of a followed by the footsteps. Liam quickly arrived outside the bathroom door. Bella? Are you in there? I'm in here. I replied weakly. His calm voice reassured me. Don't worry, I'm coming. I wasn't worried, just embarrassed. Liam fiddled with the door for a while, talking to me while he worked, asking how I got locked in. Embarrassed, I replied, I came back to grab my keys and stopped to use the bathroom on the way. I could hear a quiet laugh from the other side. But despite his efforts, Liam couldn't open the door either. Finally, he took a deep breath. Step back, I'm going to kick the door down. I pressed myself against the wall. With a loud boom, the door flew open. Liam stood in the doorway, slightly out of breath. I'll give you a ride home. I was about to refuse, but then I realized this opportunity didn't come every day. I nodded, then thank you, Mr. Mills. Liam stared at me for a moment, then seemed to snap out of it. Didn't you always just call me by my name before? This felt a little too much. I explained, well, since we're in a boss-employee relationship now. He interrupted, after hours, aren't we still friends? Okay. Reluctantly, I gave in under his insistence. Liam, you really don't act like a boss. Liam finally smiled, satisfied. When we reached his sleek Maybach, I was about to open the door when he called out to me. I looked up, confused. Liam stepped forward, opened the passenger door, and gestured for me to get in. You sit in the front. All right. My home wasn't far from the office, just a half-hour drive. When I got home, I looked out the window and saw the Maybach had just started pulling away. The next workday, someone quickly noticed the bathroom door lock was broken. When I heard a colleague mention it, I was stunned. Why hadn't Liam called someone to fix the lock? A while later, Liam stepped out, and someone reported the issue to him. "Mr. Mills, the bathroom door, it seems like it was deliberately kicked in." Liam paused for a second, then casually replied, "It's fine. I kicked it. Just get someone to fix it." The colleague looked stunned. "But that's the women's bathroom." Liam, hands in his pockets, glanced over at me with a nonchalant look. I pressed my lips together, feeling a strange sense of panic. I was afraid I'd be the center of attention in the office again. Liam chuckled. "Yeah. Bella locked herself in the other day. He never disappoints, does he?" In the confused stares of my colleagues, I forced a stiff smile. "Yeah, and I'm really grateful to Mr. Mills for rescuing me." From that moment, I became a legend in the company. In everyone's mouth, I'm the odd one out who was promoted after inviting the boss to sit on me during an interview, and who had to be rescued by the boss kicking in the door after locking himself in the bathroom. But before long, someone else emerged as an even bigger sensation. It was Diana, the campus beauty from university. If I remember correctly, her family had a business. She'd studied business management, so she could easily have inherited the family fortune. But why did she come to interview at our company? My colleagues and I gathered outside the meeting room, silently watching the spectacle. Diana had blossomed into someone even more stunning, with the kind of beauty that caught everyone's eye at first glance. Liam was personally interviewing her, but the conversation didn't feel much like a typical interview. It seemed more like an older brother talking to his younger sister. Liam's expression grew more serious as the conversation went on, and in the end, I saw a single tear slip down Diana's cheek. At that moment, Liam said something and stood up to leave. When he got up to leave, everyone scattered in panic. But, being the slowest runner, I got caught. "Bella, what are you doing?" I trembled and quickly made up an excuse. "Just going to the bathroom." Liam smiled with a slight smirk. "Be careful you don't lock yourself in again." "Thank you." Diana left our company in tears. After she left, some people dug up her background. Turns out, she was the daughter of the president of a huge construction company. Wow. She's so gorgeous. She's not going back to inherit her family business? Why is she working here? You don't know? She's here because of Mr. Mills. Then why did she leave crying? Another flower-like girl rejected by Mr. Mills. I shook my head as I hid in the crowd. I hadn't expected Diana to be one of those hopelessly romantic types. After all this time, she was still holding on to her feelings for Liam. It was quite rare, really. My supervisor walked by and waved his hand in front of my face. "What are you thinking about?" I snapped out of it and explained honestly, "Nothing, just thinking about that miss." "Why did Mr. Mills make her cry?" When I finished, my supervisor's face immediately took on a mysterious expression. It was as if he was saying, "This is top secret, don't ask." But his raised eyebrows clearly invited me to inquire further. Naturally, I was curious. "What's that, supervisor? Do you know something?" He gave me a meaningful look and pulled me aside. "I'm telling you this because you seem to have some special connection with Mr. Mills. This is between us, understand? I'm pretty sure I'm the only one in the company who knows, and now you're the second." I nodded eagerly. "I won't tell anyone, I swear." My supervisor lowered his voice and leaned in. "Mr. Mills doesn't like women." I stood frozen for a second. Then shock hit me. I had never heard this before. Seeing my stunned expression, my supervisor hurriedly added, "Don't doubt me, this is the real deal. My cousin, he owns a company too, he's good friends with Mr. Mills. He tried to introduce his daughter to him, but Mr. Mills turned her down like this. If my cousin didn't tell me himself, I wouldn't believe it either. You can't tell anyone, okay?" At that moment, I was overwhelmed. Everything suddenly clicked. All the little details I had noticed before made sense now. No wonder Liam had never seemed to date anyone. His friends had also said he didn't like women. So, I had fallen for someone who wasn't into women? I cried. I really cried. 6 years, how many 6 years do I get in a lifetime? What was worse, even though I had finally understood the truth, my feelings for Liam hadn't changed at all. Back at my desk, I felt conflicted. Looking up, I could see Liam right across the room. I was heartbroken. Should I end this one-sided crush, this unrequited love? But Liam was the kind of person who made my heart race, no matter how many times I looked at him. How could I stop liking him? After learning Liam's secret, I tried my best not to sneak peeks at him. There are thousands of men in the world. If one doesn't work out, I can move on. I threw myself into my work, determined to become a workaholic. Though my job wasn't particularly demanding, I approached it with an attitude of putting in my best effort. I'd do it perfectly. I'd do multiple versions, check everything several times. An entire day went by without me glancing at Liam even once. I stuck to this for 3 or 4 days. Then, one day, I noticed Liam's blinds kept opening and closing repeatedly. I swear, I wasn't looking on purpose, it was just that the glass surface was so large, and no matter where I looked, I could catch a glimpse of him. I couldn't help myself and, driven by curiosity, I stole a quick glance. And there he was, standing by the glass, his gaze fixed on me. But there was something strange about that look. Was it resentment? Then, with one swift motion, Liam raised his arm and shut the blinds. I couldn't shake the feeling that he wasn't too happy about something. At the weekly team meeting, Liam looked unusually tired. Normally, these meetings were about reviewing the previous week's work and setting plans for the next, but this time, he was different. Before we begin the meeting, I want to ask you all something, he said. Everyone looked up, wide-eyed. Mr. Mills, go ahead. Liam leaned forward, his eyes scanning the room. Do you think the workload at this company is heavy? The question caught everyone off guard. To be fair, our company was decent, no overtime, and the work was pretty evenly distributed. Overall, it wasn't demanding at all. When Liam asked that, it almost felt like a critique. Why wasn't the work being done even though it wasn't so much to handle? No one dared to answer. After a half-minute of silence, a brave guy spoke up. Mr. Mills, honestly, we don't have much work. Sometimes, it's even quite light. A few others started nodding in agreement. Liam nodded, then asked another question. Then why is it that I feel like some employees are always so tired? He glanced directly at me as he spoke. It was as if he was pointing out that some employees meant me, Bella. I felt completely wronged and quickly tried to explain. Maybe they're trying to do even the simplest tasks to perfection. Finally, Liam's gaze shifted away from me. But his words were still directed at me. I don't want my employees to feel exhausted because of work. Simple tasks should be done well, but they shouldn't need to be repeated endlessly. Bella, what do you think? What could I think? I definitely agreed with Mr. Mills. When Liam mentioned it, I found myself stuck in a position where I couldn't be too eager, but I couldn't play around either. It made everything feel stifling. So, I called Lila, inviting her to dinner. She was out of town for work, saying she'd be back later, and sent me a picture of herself laughing happily, alone at a barbecue. Instead of going home, I decided to wait for her at the office. As colleagues trickled out one by one, Liam slowly emerged. When he saw me still at my desk, he frowned. Still working late? How many more hours of overtime do you need? I quickly explained, no, I'm waiting for someone. Didn't feel like going home, just to turn around and come back. His expression softened, and he said, be safe. After Liam left, I was starving, and Lila's picture kept making my mouth water. So I texted her. Not bringing me something to eat? Looks like you don't even think of me. I quickly got a reply. What do you want? I was about to place an order when something felt off. Wait, was that Liam? What the hell? I panicked and quickly retracted the message. Wrong person, sorry. He replied with a single period. More than 10 minutes later, Liam returned, carrying bags of food. I stared at him with confused eyes as he placed everything on my desk, opening each package one by one with swift, deliberate movements. You wanted something to eat, right? Eat more. I rubbed my temples, speechless. Wait, what's going on here? He glanced at me briefly before continuing, who were you hoping would bring you food? Is he faster than me? Wait, do I really have to tell him? I hesitated. Lila. Liam's face froze for a second. It was barely a moment, but I saw it. I raised an eyebrow. What's wrong? Liam quickly rubbed his nose. Oh, nothing at all. Right then, Lila called. Bella, I'm almost at your building, heading down now. I answered and began to gather my things. Liam fixed his gaze on me. Lila? Yes. I noticed the food on the desk was still warm and felt a little awkward. Mr. Mills, would you mind taking this home? There's too much here. He pursed his lips. Okay. I dragged Lila to a small eatery and ordered a pitcher of beer. She looked shocked. Bella, what are you doing? Bad mood? I nodded slowly. Yeah, something came up, and I haven't slept well in days. 40 minutes later, I was sobbing uncontrollably in Lila's arms. Lila, you know? I've fallen for someone impossible. She gently patted my back. Why's it impossible? You're beautiful, who wouldn't like you? I sobbed, hiccuping. It really is impossible. Let me tell you the truth. I've been hiding this for years. I've always liked Liam. The hand on my back paused, and Lila quickly pulled me away, eyes wide with surprise. Wait, what? Are you serious? Yes, I whimpered. But you know why he's never had a girlfriend, right? Why? Because he doesn't like women. Lila's expression mirrored the shock I had felt when I first found out. Her eyes widened, and her mouth opened slightly. Is this for real? I nodded emphatically. Absolutely. He said it himself. Lila's eyes were now round as saucers. I knew she found it hard to believe, so I hugged her tighter, continuing to cry. But just then, a voice interrupted from behind us. When did I ever say that? Lila and I turned in unison. Liam stood behind us, looking both amused and confused. When did you hear me say I didn't like women? I froze. Liam pulled out a chair and sat down, crossing his arms, his expression unreadable. That was just me venting because they kept setting up blind dates. I was just complaining, saying whatever came to mind. I don't have a girlfriend, not because of that. It's because the one I like doesn't like me. All the sorrow I had just barely managed to hold back came crashing down again, and I felt tears welling up in my eyes. Liam looked up at me. But just now, she said she liked me. I couldn't hold it anymore. The tears welled up and spilled over. What? I whispered, stunned. She just said she liked him? This can't be happening. I turned my head in confusion, meeting Liam's eyes. Is it true? He asked, a hint of hope in his voice. I froze, speechless. Bella, you like me? Oh my God, how dramatic. Turns out, Liam had liked me all along. On graduation day, he had prepared a huge bouquet of red roses, planning to confess his feelings in front of everyone right after we took the group photos. But, of course, fate had other plans. He overheard me say that I didn't like him. He was so hurt, he almost cried. He angrily threw the flowers away and spent the entire night holding back tears, managing not to cry. No wonder I felt like his eyes were sparkling that night. I felt a bit embarrassed. I didn't mean it, you know. Do you believe me? I said. Liam's lips curled into a slight frown. You say it was a joke, and I spent 2 years being heartbroken over it. Seeing his pitiful expression, I just wanted to hug him right there. Lila, ever the sensible one, had already quietly slipped away. I couldn't help it. I went over and sat next to him, letting the alcohol give me the courage to gently caress his face. I'm sorry, I just thought you wouldn't like me. He grabbed my hand and gently placed it on his face, trailing it down his jaw, across his throat, and finally resting it over his left chest. I've only ever liked you, from the very beginning. Now, let's make the most of our time, okay? I nodded softly. In the next second, his hand cupped the back of my head, pulling me in for a kiss. Surrounded by his warmth and scent, my mind instantly went blank. Then he nipped my lip lightly. Be more serious. The next day, I went to work with slightly swollen lips. My colleagues, noticing, asked with concern, Bella, what happened? Are you getting a cold? I shot Liam a sly look, smiling. I got bitten by a dog. They all laughed knowingly. You've got a boyfriend now, huh? Nice, nice. When do we get to meet him? Liam, unfazed, raised an eyebrow at me, humming a little tune as he walked into the office. Not long after, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Liam. You called me a dog? You better come over and kiss me, and I'll forgive you. I rolled my eyes and turned the screen away, pretending not to see it. But a few moments later, the message kept coming. Then my colleague knocked on my desk. Bella, Mr. Mills needs to see you. I nodded politely. Okay, I'll go now. Damn. Is this what it feels like to be under the pressure of power? I walked into the office, only to find Liam wasn't at his desk. Just as I turned around, I saw him hiding behind the door. Before I could react, his long arm reached out and pulled me into his embrace, and he locked the door behind us. I pushed against his chest in shock. What are you doing? We're at work. Liam just smiled. So, we can't kiss my wife at work? What? Who's his wife? I tried to suppress the mix of embarrassment and annoyance boiling up inside me. I straightened up and said firmly, there's a company policy against office relationships. Liam ignored me entirely, leaning down and kissing me again. Not anymore. When the person entered, everything was neat and orderly. When I came out, it was a bit disheveled. From that day on, Liam became increasingly bold. During work hours, he would regularly send me harassing messages. I've been reading files all morning, I'm so tired. Come in and give me a hug, I need to recharge. I really picked a great spot for you, you can see me every time you look up. Why aren't you texting me? Have you stopped loving me? I just chewed gum, I want to kiss you. If you won't respond, I'll come out and tell you face to face. By now, I had already gone into his office 3 times. My colleagues looked at me differently. They looked at me with pity, as though I were a helpless employee being exploited by the boss. Finally, when things quieted down for a moment, my phone kept buzzing with notifications. I couldn't take it anymore. I furiously typed a response. Why are you always thinking about kissing and hugging? Can't you wait until after work? Liam replied with a pitiful message, do you not like me anymore? I was about to type another reply when something didn't feel right. There, next to Liam's profile picture, was a note, General Manager Liam. Oh, no. How had my message gone out to the entire company group chat? It was still possible to retract it, but the damage was done. Liam, the big fool, hadn't even realized what had happened. He kept on texting. Baby, we're still in the honeymoon phase, why are you so quick to get tired of me? Help. I stood up from my chair so fast, I almost knocked it over. Ignoring my colleague's surprised and slightly gossipy stares, I stormed into Liam's office. He was sitting there, head down, looking pitiful as he typed his messages. When I burst in suddenly, he looked up, shocked. But when he saw me, he grinned widely. Baby, I knew you still love me. Saying this, he even opened his arms as though waiting for a hug. I walked over, yanked the curtains shut, and began ranting. Liam, can you use your brain when you're dating? He looked stunned, clearly caught off guard by my outburst. What's wrong? He stammered. I marched over, shoving his phone in his face. Look at this. What did we just do? Liam froze for a second, then quickly regained himself. I was glaring at him, still holding his phone in my hand. Then, in one swift move, he wrapped his arms around me. A dizzying sensation swept over me, catching me off guard. Before I could react, I found myself in his arms. His breath, fresh and minty, brushed against my neck, sending shivers down my spine. Let them see, he murmured. I want everyone to know that I love you the most. Then, he pressed a kiss to my neck, laughing softly. Do you want to taste mint? It wasn't that I didn't resist. It's just that I couldn't handle it. By the time he let go of me, my mouth was completely filled with the taste of mint. Liam, still smiling, licked his lips. Do you need to fix your makeup? I shot him a glare, reaching into my pocket to pull out my lipstick and quickly touch up my face. When I stepped out, Liam had a firm hold on my hand. As soon as we opened the door, we were met with a line of colleagues who hadn't been quick enough to escape. They all had panicked looks, like they'd just been caught doing something they shouldn't have. The youngest of them, a new assistant, gave me an awkward smile. Bella, hi. I forced a smile back. Liam ignored them completely, leading me right to the center of the office. Then, with a dramatic flourish, he raised our hands, still intertwined, high into the air. I'm sure everyone has seen something by now. Let me just clarify, it's all true. Bella and I are in a relationship, but it won't affect our work. I hope everyone will continue to work hard. For a moment, there was complete silence in the crowd, before it exploded into an uproar. I always thought something was off. Every time Bella goes into Mr. Mills's office, he pulls the curtains, and when she comes out, he opens them. Now it all makes sense. That's why Mr. Mills promoted Bella. And kicked the bathroom door. And I always noticed Mr. Mills looking out of the office during work hours. I thought he was keeping an eye on us, but turns out, he was watching his girlfriend. Mr. Mills, congratulations. Can we have a day off for the wedding? Mr. Mills and Bella, may your love last forever. In the corner, the supervisor's face was a mix of confusion and contemplation, like he was still processing something. I almost burst out laughing. That misunderstanding would be something for Liam to clear up later. The excitement among my colleagues didn't stop. Liam kept smiling, looking completely unfazed. Thank you, everyone. I accepted their congratulations with ease. After all, being with him wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was the happiest thing that could happen.